In this video I'm going to do a painting of an existing comic cover. It's a cover for this book, and this is still the old cover, and the comic is called Oliver Flap Color Adventure. And it's drawn by the Dutch comic artist Dirk Arendt. And it has a very cute style, and this is the original illustration of the cover, and these are the inks, but they were still done on paper. So I imported it into Procreate, and now I'm making a new layer, so I'm going to do the inks again, and I do that for a reason. I'm using the ink brush I used for Inktober, and this has a little bit more of a structure to it. Just fast forward this because it's really not about the inks, it's more about painting the cover, and I need enclosed line work to do the color drop. So I'm just checking if all the shapes are closed. Then I make a new layer, and in that layer I can drop the colors in. And what I did was I selected the ink layer and set it to reference. And when you put a layer beneath that layer, you can drop in the colors, and then you separate the line art from your color art. And here I made, still had a gap, so I need to fill the gap in the inks, so I can drop in the flat colors. And you can also paint the colors in. Sometimes that's better if it really doesn't fill with the color drop. And because I've used color drop on a separate layer, I now need to fill in the line art on the colored layer, because I need total shapes to do my painting with Alpha Lock. And what's so nice about Alpha Lock is that you can paint inside your shapes and you don't go outside the border, so your shapes will always stay clear. Now using the Johan, and that's a great way to draw on. It's a nice stand, and I now have the colors, and it's still set to reference, so I have to turn it off, otherwise you cannot use Alpha Lock. And with 2 fingers I swipe from left to right, and then you activate Alpha Lock. And I'm using the Kaczynski brush, which is one of my favorite brushes to paint with. And it's a default brush in Procreate. And you can find it in the artistic brush set. I'm now painting inside the shape, and when I go outside the shape, it doesn't paint, just paints within the colored spaces. And that's a great way, you know, to paint characters or shapes you really want to have a firm line, or just to have the shapes remain in the same shape. And this is a fast forward because I have recorded this video straight into Procreate, because you can do that in Procreate 3.2. You can record everything you're doing, including the menu. So I'm now just refining the character, and the little elephant is called Oliver Flap, and he has really big ears, but the light source comes from the right, so everything to the left is a little bit darker, but there's also coming some light from underneath, so that's a different kind of shadow. But first I need to define the shapes, and you can do that with painting, because it of course you're drawing in 2D, but it's always good to define your shapes and make it pop out more. So just treat it as you were drawing a statue or painting a statue, and that's all got to do with values. And maybe I'll do another video about values, because that's a topic on its own, and especially values in color are more difficult than values you have to do in black and white. So maybe I'll do a video about that. And if you would like to me to do a video about values and how you can use them in Procreate, please let me know in the comments down below. So what I'm now doing is I set the ink layer to alpha lock as well. And what you can do is paint within the shapes, and the shape is now the line art. So I'm just selecting the colors I've already painted in the color layer, and now I can just color the line art. So alpha lock can be very helpful, you know, in defining your colors, and don't mess up your shapes or the line work. And I'm doing the same with Oliver Flap. And this is going to be the cover of the new ebook, or it's not a new ebook, but just wanted to have a different cover, so I decided to paint this cover and to make the comic a little bit cheaper. So it will be available in iBooks for 99 cents. So if you're interested in the comic, you can buy it on iBooks, and I'll leave a link in the description box down below. So now I duplicate the ink layer, and I'm going to merge the other ink layer with the colored layer, and I always have that other ink layer, just if something goes wrong. It's always good to have a duplicate so that you can always go back. I'm now going to concentrate on the nose of the witch, and I always zoom in and zoom out just to see the total picture. And when I start painting, I have a vague idea what the final illustration would look like, but it's just trying out things and, you know, painting in shadows and then do some highlights and just play around with it until the shapes pop out. Because I like to look at an illustration as if you were drawing a statue of the illustration. If you really want to make it look like 3D, then you have to think like 3D. So where does the light come from, and how does the structure of the dress work? Where are the folds? Where are the highlights? So these kind of little things that you have to look for. The only way you can do that is by just, making mistakes, or happy little mistakes, as Bob Ross would say. That will lead to other things to explore in an illustration. And the tusk of the elephant also needs to pop out, because that's in front of you, that's in front of his face, of his cheek. So with a little highlight you can let it pop up, and everything that's behind there is a little bit darker. So that is how I approach doing paintings and make it look like 3D. Just to look for the values, and also look at the total picture. Now creating a new layer, and I'm going to use that to do the shadows. I'm still using the Kaczynski brush, just some simple strokes, and they were a little bit too strong, just to let your characters, sit on the ground or stand on the ground, that they are really grounded. And the blue pencil is jumping up, so the shadow is underneath him. Now I'm toning it a little bit down with my eraser, and when you hold the eraser long enough, it will take over the same brush as you were painting with. I'm going to set the shadows to multiply, because in the end I will also do a background, and that has to be a different color. So the shadows will blend with that color. So I also duplicated the painting layer to get it a little bit stronger, because sometimes when you paint you still have some transparency in your paints, and you don't want that when you have a colored background, otherwise the colored background will shine through. So I forgot to do the whites of the eyes, and you can now see it because I dropped the color in the color layer, which is the bottom layer in Procreate, and in the bottom layer you can set it to one color. So now I have to paint the whites of the eyes in a different layer, and later I can merge them. So the same goes for the eyes of the witch and the eyes of the blue pencil. So I merge the painted layers down. I create a new layer to do a gradient that goes behind the characters. And here I'm just doing some final adjustments, just some slight adjustments, and I'm using a pencil brush with a little bit of a structure, and these are just for the highlights of the character. Now I'm just tweaking with all the layers and to find a balance, because there needs to be some light coming from the back so that the characters will pop out. And with an HB pencil or 6B pencil, I'm still doing some highlights on the fingers, just small touch-ups that will make the difference. And this is how I painted the cover of the ebook Oliver Flap Color Adventure, now available on iBooks. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up or subscribe to my channel. In that way you won't miss a single video. Drawing is fun and practice makes perfect. See you next time. Doodles!